My hands shook as I stared at my phone. The Lottery Commission's official notification glowed on the screen. The numbers I'd chosen, Jacob's birthday, the day we met, our wedding anniversary, and Lucas's birth date, lined up in a perfect row. $50 million. The room spun around me. "Mommy, are you okay?" Lucas tugged at my sleeve, his 7-year-old face pinched with concern. I knelt down, my voice barely a whisper. "We won, baby. We won the lottery. The big one? The one Daddy says only fools play?" I nodded, tears streaming down my face. The very one. My thoughts raced to Ethan. My husband of 9 years had been working 60-hour weeks at his investment firm, desperately trying to climb the corporate ladder while our savings dwindled and the bills piled up. Just last week, he'd snapped at me for buying the lottery ticket, calling it a tax on people who can't do math. Now those numbers had changed our lives forever. "Let's go tell Daddy." Lucas's eyes lit up. "He won't have to work so hard anymore." I checked my watch. Ethan would be at the office, probably in yet another meeting that would keep him away from us until late evening. But this couldn't wait? "You know what? You're right." I grabbed my purse in Lucas's hand. "Let's surprise him." The entire drive downtown, Lucas bounced in his booster seat, listing all the things he wanted to do with our newfound fortune. A trip to Disney World. A treehouse. A real telescope like the astronomers use. I smiled, my mind elsewhere. The money meant freedom. It meant Ethan could finally start the boutique financial advisory firm he'd always dreamed of. It meant we could pay off our mortgage, fund Lucas's college education, maybe even have another child without worrying about how we'd manage. I pulled into the parking garage beneath Ethan's gleaming office tower, my heart racing with excitement. I'd only been to his office a handful of times. He preferred to keep work and home separate, but I remembered the way to the 37th floor. "Do you think Daddy will be happy?" Lucas asked as we rode the elevator up. "He's going to be shocked," I laughed, squeezing his small hand in mine. "This changes everything for us." The elevator doors opened to the sleek reception area of Montgomery & Associates. The receptionist's desk was empty, unusual for a Tuesday afternoon. I checked my watch, 4:15 p.m. "Hello?" I called out, but no one answered. Lucas pulled at my hand. "Let's find Daddy's office." We wandered down the hallway of closed doors and darkened conference rooms. The office seemed strangely deserted. Had there been some kind of emergency evacuation I hadn't heard about? "I think it's this one," I said, approaching a door at the end of the corridor. The nameplate read, "Ethan Ward, Senior Investment Advisor." As we approached, I heard muffled sounds coming from inside. Voices. A woman's laugh, breathless and intimate. Then Ethan's voice, low and tender in a way I hadn't heard directed at me in years. Lucas reached for the door handle, but I caught his wrist. "Wait," I whispered. My heart suddenly hammering for a different reason entirely. I leaned closer to the door, a cold feeling spreading through my chest. "We should be celebrating at the Ritz, not hiding in your office." The woman's voice was sultry, confident. "Soon, baby. Just a few more weeks." Ethan's reply was followed by the unmistakable sound of kissing. Lucas looked up at me, confusion in his eyes. "Mommy, is Daddy talking to someone?" I stood frozen, the lottery notification still open on my phone. $50 million glowing in my hand while my world crumbled behind that closed door. 6 months earlier, I would have described my life as imperfectly perfect. Ethan and I had met in college. He was the ambitious economics major with Wall Street dreams, and I was the art history student who'd fallen for his quiet intensity and surprising tenderness. After graduation, we'd moved to Chicago together, where Ethan landed an entry-level position at Montgomery & Associates while I found work at a small gallery. When Lucas came along 3 years into our marriage, we'd made the decision that I would scale back to part-time work to be home more with our son. Ethan had promised it would be temporary, just until his career took off. But 1 year became 2, and then 5, and the dynamic in our household had slowly, imperceptibly shifted. Ethan was the provider, the decision-maker, the one whose career took precedence. I was the supporting character in the story of his success. The gallery where I worked closed during the pandemic. After that, I'd picked up freelance art consultation gigs when I could, but they were few and far between. Our finances, once comfortable, had become increasingly strained as housing costs rose and Ethan's promised promotions came with less impressive raises than we'd hoped. "The big one's coming," he'd assure me over quick dinners before retreating to his home office. "Montrose just needs to see I'm serious about my future with the firm." Richard Montrose, the managing partner who seemed to hold Ethan's future in his manicured hands, had become a spectral presence in our marriage. Ethan quoted him constantly, adjusted his schedule around his demands, and had begun dressing and speaking more like him, trading in his casual confidence for a harder, more polished edge. I'd tried to be supportive, arranging dinners that Ethan missed, making excuses to Lucas about why Daddy couldn't make it to soccer games, managing our household on an increasingly tight budget while Ethan insisted on maintaining appearances with his colleagues. "Investment advising is all about trust," he'd explained while ordering yet another tailored suit we couldn't comfortably afford. "No one trusts a financial advisor who looks like he can't manage his own money." The lottery ticket had been a small act of rebellion. $20 that should have gone toward groceries, spent instead on the slim possibility of escape. I hadn't even told Ethan I'd bought it. Now, standing outside his office door with Lucas fidgeting beside me and the sounds of betrayal drifting through the wood, I realized how blind I'd been. The late nights, the business trips that had grown more frequent, the new cologne I didn't recognize, the emotional distance I'd attributed to work stress. "Maybe we should come back later," I whispered to Lucas, trying to keep my voice steady. "Daddy's in a meeting." But before I could pull him away, the door swung open. A woman stepped out, tall, model thin, with glossy dark hair and a pencil skirt that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. She froze when she saw us, perfectly shaped eyebrows rising in surprise. "Oh!" she exclaimed, quickly smoothing her skirt. "I didn't realize anyone was out here." Behind her, Ethan appeared, his tie loosened and the top buttons of his shirt undone. When he saw me and Lucas, the color drained from his face. "Olivia? What are you doing here?" His voice was tight, controlled panic vibrating beneath the surface. The woman, evidently named Olivia, looked between us, understanding dawning in her eyes. "I should go," she murmured, slipping past us with a cloud of expensive perfume. Ethan stood in the doorway, his expression shifting from shock to anger to a carefully composed neutrality. "Daddy." Lucas broke the terrible silence, rushing forward to hug him. "We have something amazing to tell you." Ethan automatically bent to embrace our son, but his eyes never left mine. They were pleading, calculating, assessing the damage. "Lucas, honey," I said, surprised by how calm I sounded. "Why don't you go see if there are any snacks in Daddy's office while we talk for a minute?" Once Lucas had disappeared inside, I held up my phone with the lottery notification still displayed. "We need to talk," I said quietly. "About several things, apparently." Ethan closed the office door after ushering me inside, leaving it cracked so we could see Lucas, who had discovered a vending machine in the small kitchenette area. "Olivia is a colleague," he started immediately, straightening his tie. "We were working on the Donovan account." "It's nothing." I stared at him. This man I'd shared a bed with for 9 years, suddenly a stranger. "Your colleague's lipstick is on your collar, Ethan." He glanced down, a flash of panic crossing his features before he composed himself. Liv got emotional about landing the account. It was a congratulatory hug that got a little enthusiastic. That's all. Don't. I held up my hand. "Just don't. I heard you." Ethan's jaw tightened, his eyes darting to where Lucas was happily feeding quarters into the vending machine. "This isn't the place to discuss this." I laughed, a hollow sound that surprised even me. "No, I suppose your office isn't the place. It's clearly reserved for other activities. Olivia is—" "How long?" I interrupted, my voice barely above a whisper. Ethan hesitated, and in that hesitation I had my answer. "A while," he finally admitted, his shoulders slumping slightly. 6 months, maybe. It just happened. The Donovan account, We were working late nights together, and things were so tense at home. Because you were having an affair, I hissed, keeping my voice low enough that Lucas wouldn't hear. Because I've been killing myself trying to provide for this family, he shot back. Do you have any idea what kind of pressure I'm under? Montrose has had me on probation for a missed earnings projection. I could lose everything. We could lose everything if I don't land these accounts. Well, good news, I said, thrusting my phone into his hands. We just won $50 million. Problem solved. Ethan stared at the screen, his expression shifting from confusion to shock. Is this real? Very real. I got the confirmation this morning. He looked up at me, and for a moment, I saw a flash of the man I'd fallen in love with. Vulnerable, honest, a little bit awed. Then his gaze hardened into something calculating. This changes everything, he said slowly. We need to be smart about this, Elise. We shouldn't tell anyone yet. There are tax implications, investment considerations. I'm sure Olivia could help with that, I said coldly. She seems very invested in our future, Ethan flinched. Look, what you saw, what you heard, it's not what you think. Olivia and it's complicated. Uncomplicate it for me. He ran a hand through his hair, glancing again toward Lucas. We've been under so much stress. Things haven't been good between us for a long time, Elise. You know that. So naturally, the solution was to sleep with your coworker rather than talk to your wife. It wasn't planned. It just happened, he lowered his voice. But it doesn't have to change anything. Especially now. He gestured at my phone. We can start over. Take a vacation. Buy that house you've always wanted. This is our second chance. I stared at him. This stranger wearing my husband's face, suggesting we use my lottery winnings to paper over his infidelity. And suddenly, with perfect clarity, I understood what had been happening in our marriage for years. I hadn't just been supporting Ethan's career. I'd been erasing myself, becoming smaller and less significant while he expanded to fill the space in our lives. The lottery win hadn't created the imbalance between us. It had merely illuminated it. Mom. Dad, look what I got! Lucas bounded over, clutching a candy bar and a bag of chips. Can we go to Disney World now that we're rich? Ethan and I exchanged glances. Lucas, I said gently, why don't you eat your snack in the waiting area for a few minutes? There's a very comfortable couch out there. Mommy and Daddy need to talk about grown-up things. About the money? Lucas asked excitedly. Yes, I said, forcing a smile. About the money. Once Lucas had settled on the couch in the reception area, visible through the glass walls but out of earshot, I turned back to Ethan. I want a divorce, I said quietly. Ethan's expression hardened. Don't be ridiculous. You're emotional right now, and I understand that. But think about what you're saying. Think about Lucas. I am thinking about Lucas. And myself. I deserve better than this, Ethan. This is about the money, isn't it? His voice turned bitter. You win the lottery and suddenly you don't need me anymore. How convenient. I stared at him, incredulous. I caught you with another woman. In your office. In the middle of a workday. And I'm willing to end it. For our family. For 50 million reasons. He reached for my hands, but I stepped back. Be reasonable, Elise. We can work through this. People make mistakes. Marriages survive affairs all the time. This isn't about the affair. Not entirely. I took a deep breath. This is about the fact that when I showed you we'd won the lottery, your first thought wasn't joy or relief or gratitude. It was how to control it. Just like you've tried to control everything else in our lives. That's not fair. I've been carrying this family. No, we've been carrying you, I interrupted. Your ambitions, your ego, your need to impress people like Richard Montrose. And I'm done. Ethan's expression darkened. You think it's that simple? You'll take my son and half of everything we've built together, plus your lottery winnings? The courts won't see it that way. A chill ran through me at the calculating look in his eyes. What do you mean? I mean that lottery ticket was purchased with marital funds. During our marriage, which makes the winnings marital property. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. And given that I'm the financial expert between us, and the primary breadwinner, I think any reasonable judge would agree that I should have significant control over how those funds are managed. You wouldn't. But even as I said it, I knew he would. I love you, Elise. I love our family. I want to fix this. He stepped closer, his voice softening. But if you insist on tearing us apart over one mistake, then yes, I will fight for what's mine, and I will win. For a moment I saw him clearly, not as the charming college student I'd fallen for, or the stressed husband I'd been trying to support, but as the ruthless financial advisor who'd clawed his way up in a cutthroat industry. Now, he continued, straightening his suit jacket, why don't we take Lucas out for ice cream and discuss this like adults? No need to make any rash decisions today. I glanced through the glass wall at our son, innocently swinging his legs as he enjoyed his vending machine treasures, unaware that his world was about to change forever. Fine, I said quietly. Let me use the restroom first, Ethan nodded, visibly relieved. It's down the hall to the right. I'll get Lucas ready to go. In the pristine corporate bathroom, I locked the stall door and leaned against it, finally allowing the tears to fall. But they weren't tears of sadness or even anger. They were tears of clarity, of determination. I pulled out my phone and called my best friend, Rachel. Hey, what's up? Did you tell Ethan about the lottery yet? Her voice was excited. Rachel, I need a lawyer, I whispered. A good one. Today. What? Why? What happened? Ethan's having an affair. And he's threatening to take the lottery money, Rachel gasped. That bastard. Okay, my cousin Beth is a divorce attorney. She's absolutely ruthless. I'm texting you her number right now. I heard the ping of an incoming message. Thanks. Listen, I need one more favor. Can you come get Lucas? I'm at Ethan's office. I can't have him here for what comes next. I'll be there in 15 minutes, Rachel said without hesitation. And Elise? Don't sign anything. Don't agree to anything. And whatever you do, don't let that ticket out of your sight. When I emerged from the bathroom, I found Ethan in the reception area, helping Lucas put on his jacket. He looked up, a practiced smile on his face, the same one he'd used at dinner parties when pretending everything was fine. Ready to go? He asked lightly. Change of plans, I said. Rachel is coming to pick up Lucas. You and I need to finish our conversation. Ethan's smile faltered. That's not necessary. We can talk at home after Lucas is in bed. Rachel will be here in 10 minutes. His jaw tightened, but he nodded stiffly. Fine. Lucas, it looks like you're going to hang out with Aunt Rachel for a little while. Won't that be fun? Lucas looked between us, suddenly uncertain. Even at 7, he could sense the tension. Are you guys fighting? Nobody, Ethan said quickly. Mom and I just need to talk about some grown-up stuff. About the money we won. And about Daddy's friend, I added quietly. Ethan shot me a warning look, but I held his gaze steadily. When Rachel arrived, her expression turned glacial at the sight of Ethan. She'd never particularly liked him, a fact I'd always attributed to protectiveness rather than insight. Now I wondered if she'd seen what I'd been blind to all along. Hey, little man, she said brightly to Lucas, her tone changing completely. Ready for an adventure? I thought we could get pizza and see that new superhero movie you've been talking about. Lucas's face lit up, momentarily distracted from the tension between his parents. Can I, Mom, please? I knelt down to hug him tightly. Of course, baby. Have fun with Aunt Rachel. I'll pick you up later, okay? I can pick him up, Ethan interjected. After our discussion. I'll get him, I said firmly, my eyes never leaving Lucas. Be good, okay? I love you. Love you too, Mom. He turned to Ethan. Bye, Dad. Are we still going to Disney World? Ethan forced a smile. We'll talk about it later, buddy. After they left, Ethan led me back to his office, closing the door with a decisive click. That was unnecessary, he said coldly. Bringing Rachel into this? I disagree. I sat down across from his desk. I think it was very necessary to get our son away from here before we continue this conversation. Ethan sighed, loosening his tie as he sat behind his desk. The power move wasn't lost on me, positioning himself in the seat of authority. Look, Elise, I made a mistake. A terrible one. But is it worth throwing away 9 years of marriage? Worth depriving Lucas of his family? Lucas isn't losing his family. He's keeping both his parents, just not under the same roof. Ethan leaned forward. Be reasonable. Think of the practicalities. 2 households are more expensive than 1. Even with the lottery money, why complicate things? I almost laughed. The practicalities? Ethan, I just caught you with another woman. Your concern about household economics is a little late. He had the grace to look momentarily ashamed, but quickly recovered. People make mistakes. Marriages survive worse. We could go to counseling. Why? I asked simply. Give me one good reason why I should try to save this marriage. Because I love you, he said immediately. Because we have history? Because of Lucas. I studied him, searching for sincerity in his practiced expression. When did you stop loving me, Ethan? Was it before or after you started sleeping with Olivia? He flinched. That's not fair. My relationship with Olivia is complicated. You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. A flash of irritation crossed his face at the movie reference. He'd always hated The Princess Bride. I claiming it was too childish. Fine. You want honesty? Olivia understands the pressures I'm under. She respects my ambition. She doesn't make me feel guilty for working late or missing soccer games because I'm trying to secure our future. The words hit like physical blows, but I kept my expression neutral. I see. And all those nights you were working late? Ethan had the decency to look away. Not all of them. But yes, some. And the business trips? His silence was answer enough. How many others have there been, Ethan? Besides Olivia, he looked up sharply. No one else? It's only been Olivia. Somehow that made it worse. Not a series of meaningless flings, but a sustained relationship with a woman who was, in his mind, everything I wasn't. Let me ask you something, I said quietly. If I hadn't won the lottery, would you have left me for her? Ethan hesitated just a fraction too long. Of course not. We've been having problems, sure, but I would never— Stop lying, I interrupted. For once in this conversation, just tell me the truth. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. I don't know. Elise. Maybe. Eventually. Things with Olivia have been intense. She gets me in a way you never have. Because she's never had to wash your underwear or stay up all night with a sick child. I said dryly, Ethan's expression hardened. This is exactly what I'm talking about. The constant resentment. The passive-aggressive comments. Is it any wonder I found comfort elsewhere? I stood up, unable to sit still any longer. So this is my fault? Your affair is because I wasn't supportive enough while raising your child and managing your household on a shrinking budget? That's not what I meant. No, I think it's exactly what you meant. I paced the office, noting the framed photos on his desk. One of Lucas, but none of me. You know what the worst part is? I actually believed in you. I put my own career on hold because I believed in your potential, in your dreams. I thought we were building something together. We were. We are, he insisted, standing up as well. This lottery win, it's our chance to start over. To build the life we always wanted. The life you always wanted, I corrected him. And now you think you're entitled to my lottery winnings too. Our lottery winnings, he said sharply. Purchased during our marriage with marital funds. I laughed bitterly. Funds I managed while you were sleeping with your coworker. Do you really think a judge will be sympathetic to your claim after I tell them about Olivia? Ethan's expression turned calculating. Do you really want to put Lucas through an ugly divorce? The tabloids will be all over this. The lottery winner and the cheating husband. Is that what you want for our son? For his friends at school to see his family's dirty laundry splashed across the internet? I stared at him, suddenly recognizing the subtle threat for what it was. Are you actually trying to blackmail me with our child's well-being? Ethan smiled thinly. I'm being practical. A quiet, amicable divorce benefits everyone. We split everything 50-50, including the lottery winnings, and we co-parent Lucas without dragging each other through the mud. And Olivia? I asked. Does she factor into this practical arrangement? My relationship with Olivia is separate from our divorce negotiations. Of course it is. I shook my head in disbelief. You really think you can have it all, don't you? The successful career, the gorgeous mistress, and half of my lottery winnings. Ethan spread his hands. I'm being reasonable, Elise. You should be too. A court battle will only eat into the money with legal fees. I reached into my purse and pulled out my phone, setting it on his desk between us. Before I agree to anything, there's something you should know. He eyed the phone suspiciously. What? I tapped the screen, opening the voice recording app that had been running since I returned from the bathroom. I've been recording our entire conversation. The color drained from Ethan's face. That's illegal. You can't record someone without their consent. Actually, Illinois is a one-party consent state, I said calmly, thanking Rachel's lawyer cousin for that particular piece of information shared during our hurried phone call. As long as one party consents, that would be me, it's perfectly legal. And admissible in court. Ethan lunged for the phone, but I was quicker, snatching it back. That recording has you admitting to a 6-month affair, discussing how you used our marital funds to finance your infidelity, and attempting to leverage our son's emotional well-being to extort money from me. I smiled coldly. Not to mention the implied threat about tabloid exposure. I wonder what your boss, the great Richard Montrose, would think about one of his senior advisors being involved in such a sordid scandal. You wouldn't dare, Ethan hissed. My career would be over. Maybe it should be. I slipped the phone back into my purse. You're a financial advisor, Ethan. Your entire profession is built on trust, and you've proven you're completely untrustworthy. He stared at me, truly seeing me, perhaps for the first time in years. What do you want? He asked finally, his voice hollow. A divorce. Full custody of Lucas, with generous visitation for you, because despite everything, you're still his father, and the lottery money stays with me. That's not fair, he protested weakly. Neither is cheating on your wife of 9 years, I countered, but I'm willing to be reasonable. We split our marital assets as they existed yesterday, before the lottery win. The house, the cars, your retirement accounts, we divide them fairly. But the ticket was purchased with my personal money, and the winnings stay with me. And if I refuse? I met his gaze steadily. Then I walk out of here and call Richard Montrose. And my lawyer. And maybe a reporter or two. Ethan sank back into his chair, suddenly looking older and smaller than I'd ever seen him. You've changed, he said quietly. No, I replied. I've remembered who I was, who I am. Before I became just Ethan's wife and Lucas's mom, I was whole once. I want to be whole again. He nodded slowly, a flicker of the man I'd once loved visible briefly in his defeated expression. I'll have my lawyer draft the papers. No, I said firmly. My lawyer will draft the papers. Your lawyer can review them, but this is happening on my terms, Ethan. Not yours. For once. As I gathered my purse to leave, he spoke again, his voice unusually vulnerable. Did you ever really love me, Elise? Or was I just a means to an end? I paused at the door, thinking about the bright-eyed economics student who'd once quoted Adam Smith with the same passion other boys quoted rock lyrics. Who'd sketched business plans on coffee shop napkins and promised we'd build a beautiful life together. I loved you completely, I said softly. That's why this hurts so much. I closed the door behind me without looking back. 1 year later, I sat on the patio of my new home, watching Lucas splash in the pool with his friends. My divorce from Ethan had been finalized 6 months ago, quicker and cleaner than I'd expected, once his lawyers reviewed the recording of our confrontation. In the end, we'd reached a settlement that favored me heavily, but wasn't entirely punitive toward Ethan. He kept his job at Montgomery and Associates. Though he'd been passed over for the partner position he'd coveted, the rumor mill had churned briefly about his affair with Olivia, who'd transferred to the firm's New York office shortly after our confrontation. Whether their relationship had continued long distance, I neither knew nor cared. The lottery money had been deemed my separate property, though I'd voluntarily placed a significant portion in a trust for Lucas's education and future. The rest I'd invested conservatively, following the advice of a financial team I'd selected myself, not at Ethan's firm. The doorbell rang, interrupting my thoughts. I'll get it. called a deep voice from inside the house. Rachel's husband, Michael, appeared a moment later, escorting Ethan onto the patio. My ex-husband looked good, tanned and fit, though there were new lines around his eyes that hadn't been there a year ago. "Daddy!" Lucas shouted, climbing out of the pool and racing toward Ethan, leaving wet footprints across the flagstones. Ethan crouched down to embrace our son, not minding the water soaking into his casual button-down shirt. "Hey, buddy! Ready for our camping weekend?" "Yes." I packed my new telescope so we can look at the stars. Lucas bounced with excitement. "That sounds perfect." Ethan smiled, ruffling Lucas's wet hair. He looked up at me. "Hi, Elise." "Ethan?" I nodded, keeping my tone neutral. "Lucas has been looking forward to this trip all week." "Me too." He glanced around the backyard, taking in the tasteful landscaping and the comfortable but not ostentatious furnishings. "The place looks great." "Thanks." I'd purchased the house 6 months ago, a comfortable 4-bedroom in a good school district, modestly priced compared to what the lottery winnings could have afforded. I'd wanted security, not extravagance. "Lucas, why don't you go finish packing while I talk to your mom for a minute?" Ethan suggested. Once Lucas had scampered inside, followed discreetly by Michael, Ethan sat in the chair opposite me. "How are you?" he asked, seeming genuinely interested. "Good. Busy." I'd returned to school, pursuing a master's degree in art history with a concentration in museum studies. "The gallery internship is going well. There's talk of a permanent position once I graduate." Ethan nodded. "That's great. You always had a good eye for art." An awkward silence fell between us, filled with unspoken history. "And you?" I finally asked. "How's the new apartment?" "It's fine. Empty, but fine." He fidgeted with his watch, a less expensive model than the one he'd worn during our marriage. "Actually, that's part of what I wanted to talk to you about." "I'm making a change." I raised an eyebrow, waiting. "I'm leaving Montgomery & Associates," he said. "Starting my own firm like I always wanted. Something smaller, more personalized, focused on helping ordinary families build financial security, not just wealthy clients getting wealthier." "That sounds unlike the Ethan I knew," I said carefully. He smiled ruefully. "I'm not the same Ethan anymore. Losing you and almost losing Lucas's respect. It changes a person." "Olivia won't be joining your new venture?" I couldn't help asking. Ethan shook his head. "Olivia and I ended things the day after you and I talked. She's engaged to a hedge fund manager in Manhattan now." "I'm sorry," I said automatically, though I wasn't entirely sure I meant it. "Don't be. It was never real." He looked up at me, his eyes clear and direct for the first time in years. "What we had was real, Elise. I just forgot that somewhere along the way." I nodded, unwilling to be drawn into a conversation about what might have been. "I wish you luck with your new firm." "Thank you." He hesitated. "There's one more thing. I've been seeing someone." "A therapist," he clarified quickly, "for 8 months now. Working through some issues." "That's good, Ethan. I'm glad. She's helped me understand some things about myself. About why I did what I did." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I'm not asking for forgiveness, Elise. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that I understand now how much I hurt you and how wrong I was. About everything." I studied him, searching for the calculated manipulation I'd grown to expect, but found only sincerity. "Thank you for saying that. I also wanted you to know," he began, but was interrupted by Lucas bounding back onto the patio, dragging his backpack. "I'm ready, Dad. Can we go now? Can we?" Ethan stood, whatever he'd been about to say set aside. "Absolutely, buddy. Say goodbye to your mom." Lucas threw his arms around me, smelling of chlorine and sunscreen. "Bye, Mom. See you on Sunday." I hugged him tightly, still marveling at how much he'd grown in just a year. "Have fun, baby. Listen to your dad, okay?" As Ethan led Lucas toward his car, he paused and turned back. "Elise, I heard about your foundation, the Arts Education Initiative for Underserved Schools. It's really amazing what you're doing." I smiled, genuinely touched. "Thank you, Ethan." After they drove away, I walked through the house to my home office, where the framed lottery ticket hung on the wall, a reminder not of the money it had brought, but of the freedom it had given me to rediscover myself. My phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. "Still on for dinner tonight? David's excited to meet you." David was a literature professor Rachel had introduced me to last month. Kind, thoughtful, with a quiet intelligence that had intrigued me. We'd had coffee twice, both times ending in conversations so engrossing that the cafe had closed around us. "Definitely," I texted back. "Looking forward to it." I glanced again at the framed lottery ticket. People often asked if winning the lottery had changed my life, expecting tales of extravagant purchases and exotic vacations. I always told them yes, it had changed everything, but not in the ways they imagined. The money hadn't brought happiness. It had brought clarity. It had shown me who Ethan really was, who I really was, and given me the power to choose my own path forward. Some might call it lucky that I discovered Ethan's betrayal at the exact moment I gained financial freedom. But I didn't believe in that kind of luck anymore. I believed in making choices, daily, hourly choices about what kind of life I wanted and who I wanted to be. My phone buzzed again. David, this time. "Hope you don't mind if I bring the book I mentioned. Found a first edition at that little shop on Elm." I smiled, feeling a flutter of possibility. Not the breathless, all-consuming passion of youth that had drawn me to Ethan, but something steadier and more grounded. Something with room to grow. "Can't wait to see it," I texted back. And you. Outside, the afternoon sun filtered through the oak trees, casting dappled shadows across the yard where Lucas and his friends had played. In 2 days, he would return, filling the house with his energy and questions and boundless love. Until then, I had time to myself, to read, to study, to plan the next phase of my foundation's work. I'd won more than money that day I showed up at Ethan's office. I'd won back myself, the self I'd slowly surrendered over 9 years of marriage. And that, I was discovering, was the most valuable prize of all.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.